want to thank everybody who's been with me, my Xbox clan.
When Kobe going back to play Madison Square Garden, and he's like, hey, hook me up with dinner with Heath Ledger.
Like Russell Westbrook, that was a great feat the other day. I couldn't even tweet it out.
It's Coach Frank Vogel here, full of enthusiasm and positive energy.
Well, first of all, you don't smoke peyote.
And there was a couple games where I was at a hookah lounge. That's the truth. I wasn't smoking hookah, but I was there.
There was a time when the Israelites were wandering in the desert and all of a sudden bread came down from heaven. That's kind of what today feels like to have KCP join.
Welcome back. Bulls vs. Blazers. You can find us as always on Apple, Spotify, Google, YouTube, everywhere else you can find podcasts. Make sure you subscribe, rate, review. Not Facebook. Facebook is doing a podcast rollout thing. We're not doing that. I draw the line at I saw a press release about it, about you can make a custom clip to share on Facebook, and I'm just like, no, I'm not doing that. But what you can do though, you can subscribe to us on Patreon. Patreon.com/BullsVBlazers. Just $3 a month. Most weeks you'll get an extra episode a week. $150,000 you get an exclusive NFT of a Bulls vs. Blazers episode of your choice. I'm Sean Highkin. With me as always, Eric Gundersen. What is good?
I mean, the Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks are quite good. The Nate
McMillan Agenda has never been stronger than it is right now. We are too powerful, I think, for our own good. I'm actually starting to get a little bit worried.
Yeah, no, I think there have been checks to our power in recent days.
Certain scenarios that have fallen through.
Yeah, exactly. Certain scenarios that have fallen through the cracks, if you will. But regardless of that, the NBA basketball never stops, and the agenda never stops. The
agendas are ever shifting and ever pivoting.
Yes, it is a constant flux, give and take of the agenda. But one constant of that within that state of flux has been the McMillan agenda for a long time, and the Hawks. I mean, as a team, they are just they obviously they had Game 5, which we talked about the other night or a couple weeks ago on the Family Pod. But it's been a while since we've podded about these games and about the Hawks in general. We did not talk about Game 7 where they go into Philadelphia and shock the world. And then they follow that up with tonight, Game 1, the chaos engine of Game 1 that it is, especially in the Eastern Conference. It's it's even more wild in the East, I feel like, for Game 1s. And Trey has 48, and the Hawks get some big timely shots down the stretch from Trey, and they got enough stops at the very end. And it was just another. I mean, the Hawks. The Hawks. People are talking about the Hawks the Hawks could win the NBA championship at this point. I honestly am not.
I'm done picking against them.
Yeah,
I picked the Knicks in the first round. As much as we love the McMillan agenda, I picked the Sixers in the second round. I'm done. I'm not doing it anymore.
What reason do we have for the remaining teams to believe that they can guard the Hawks? Their offense is just, they have everyone has such a defined role with Herter in the corner. Then, they bring in Lou Will, and Lou Will plays his minutes and does and scores some buckets. Solomon Hill, great minutes tonight. Gallo kind of knows what he's doing. Bogdanović is out there on one leg, but they have an identity about them, and with just create space for Trey, and that will create problems for everybody else. And it just seems like it's no one can really guard them, at least in the East. And, I think Phoenix is probably the team that is most equipped to guard them. But even then, they create problems because Trey in space is just an issue for everybody. And also, I think Drew Holiday, it's not 2018 anymore.
I was watching this game at a Chipotle. And they were talking about Trae Young as the greatest icon in Atlanta history. And they've talked about this before. In the past, I've been like, I don't know about that. But after tonight, who's to say?
I think that there's a dialogue to be started about, Trey is. I mean, absolutely. I mean, the fact that he even has.
If he gets them to the finals.
They didn't even ever win a Game 7 before Sunday. They had never won a Game 7 in a playoff series in their franchise history.
I saw a tweet tonight that was like, Mike Budenholzer finally helped the Hawks win a game in the conference finals.
I mean, I guess, but maybe he probably stuck with Lopez a little, but Lopez
played Jeff Teague a little bit too much.
But it's still ultimately though, looking at the box, okay, Lopez played 20 minutes. I guess you could make the argument that he should not start next game, but you saw though on that last possession, Bud is in a tough position with this matchup because Capella, if you go small, Capella is a really good rebounder and a pretty strong finisher around the rim. He had that second chance bucket after Trey missed the floater. And, if Brook Lopez is there, maybe that shot's a little bit harder for him to make. But without, I know Giannis is big and strong, but he's not as tall as Brook Lopez. And I think you can kind of see the kind of issue that they might have with this matchup with two very mobile big men in Collins and Capella, because Capella's not a three-point shooter like Collins is, but they both are very quick for how tall they are. And I think that, in addition, their overall quickness, I think, is an issue for the Bucks.
Yeah, Middleton shot terribly tonight. I mean, we got some good Bobby Portis minutes, which I was pretty psyched about.
And maybe that's the move.
Maybe because he barely played at all in the Brooklyn series, and it was probably the move for him to not play in the Brooklyn series. But I mean, that's one thing I will give Bud credit for is he didn't play Portis in the last series when it was probably not the thing to do for that matchup, and then he put him in for this one.
And maybe starting Portis over Brook is the move because that gives you two more mobile bigs to match up against Atlanta's very mobile bigs. Because then you have PJ, you have Giannis, and then you have Portis, where you at least have some kind of, at least a little bit of a quickness match. But, even still, at the guard spots, it's still going to be hard to contain Trey because even when they were switching, there was really they did drop coverage, they did switching, they did a whole bunch of stuff tonight against Trey, and none of it worked. I would love to beat the drum of Budenholzer, coached a bad game, but I didn't really think he coached that poor of a game. I mean, I do think that just the demeanor, though, you look at the overall demeanor of the two sidelines, and which one you would rather have. It's definitely Nate.
I want to talk about the shimmy three, which they call it the shimmy three. It's really the shrug three. It looked like Trey was standing out on the wing, getting ready to shoot a three. It took them forever to rotate over to him, and to me it looked like he just sort of shrugged and was like, "Okay, if you're going to give." I mean, the shimmy. I think people are playing up the shimmy because it plays into Trey's whole villain persona. But to me, it looked like he was just "Okay, if you're going to give me this, if you're going to." Not, noted 3-point shooter Trey Young, if you're not going to even put anybody on him for 5 seconds, okay, fine. And then he drills it.
When he has 40 plus points and had 25 by halftime, it was a shock he didn't get 50. I mean, it really was. And he was on fire tonight. And I have to, as I am wont to do on this podcast, Eric's Gambling Corner taking a victory lap tonight, Hawks money line, and Trey 35 plus. It was the Trey 35 plus was the easiest bet maybe I've ever made.
What was the line? What was the odds on that?
Oh, it was plus 280. So I put that on top of my game bet. So
and what was the Hawks money line?
Plus 280. So it was, or plus two. Yeah, they were both plus 280. So
did you parlay them or?
It was two separate bets because you couldn't parlay Trey plus 35 and a W, but I did them both separately.
Okay.
But because the Oregon scoreboard did not offer a Trey 35 plus and a W, which I would have taken. They had Trey. Well, I should have done Trey double and a W, which was plus 900. That would have been the smart move there. But I mean, the 35 was, to me, was the one, because the drop coverage thing is the meme, but it's just like, it's not just the drop coverage. The Bucks just have a lot of guys that are not a good matchup for a very small, very fast guard who can shoot.
I think this is going to be a pretty interesting series going forward. You know, the Phoenix series is going to also be really like the Phoenix Clippers series. I'm pretty interested to see how that. I mean, Chris Paul's playing.
I don't think it's over. I don't think it's over at all.
It's not over at all. I mean, the Clippers have lost the first 2 games of each of their last 2 series, and I know. I mean, they don't have Kawhi this time. They still, and I know Chris Paul's coming back, but I mean, they still almost won last night if it weren't for the DeAndre Ayton alley-oop, which, by the way, is one of the most incredible, like, shout out to Monty Williams. That was just one of the most incredible ATOs that I've seen.
Yeah, well, and then Jay, friend of the program, Jay Triano, also got a shout out.
Jay Triano.
Yeah, legendary. He was a head coach in the league, but his passion is to be an assistant coach because he just really loves the game. Does not really give a shit about the other aspects of the job, which being a head coach requires. It no longer is just about hoops,
right?
And a lot of the Suns players gave him credit because he made a comment in passing to them in a preseason game when they were really young that there's no goaltending on a dead ball. When you're throwing the ball from out of bounds on a dead ball play, which is what happened last night, and why the officials, even the officials didn't know that was the rule because they sent it.
It literally took like 10 minutes to review that, and then they had to do another review to see how much time was left in the clock. So it's like the play happens, and then it's literally 15 minutes before they can play out the final 0.7 seconds of the game.
Yeah, no, and then the Clips had to go full court, and I think there was, I think as much love as I give T. Lue, like Cousins was not in a good position to defend that play, and I thought that they could have defended that better. As much as I am the Ty Lue, advocate here,
I think everybody is the Ty Lue advocate so far during the playoffs.
That's true.
I've seen him getting a whole lot of. I've seen him. There have been a whole lot of people said that Ty Lue isn't a good coach, but he actually is takes, even though there's been a lot of I was told Steph Curry isn't a good shooter tweets about Ty Lue.
In defense of that take, though, as someone who was a Ty Lue appreciator even way back in 2018 when LeBron carried them to the finals, yes, but everyone's like, all Ty Lue does is do what LeBron says. And that's all he needs to do, and that's the only reason he has his job and the only reason he's successful. I always push back against that, just because I never believed that. And from what I've heard about the Cavs, what I've read about them, what I've had gotten to see during that season about how T. Lue and LeBron interacted a couple times, when they were here and on the road as well and other places during that season, and I just didn't buy it that he wasn't really pulling the strings and making the right calls during those Cavs runs, and that it was all LeBron, that's a little bit of a difference between that dialogue and I was told Steph Curry wasn't a good shooter, because the LeBron factor just muddies the water.
Right.
But I just think everyone sees it now. It's a little bit like the playoff Rondo thing, where it's like, people don't believe it until they can see it for themselves outside of whatever biases they have. Like Lakers fans were like, it's bullshit. And then he did it for the Lakers, and then it was like, oh, it's real.
Shout out to playoff Rondo's family, though.
I know, it's over. It's a tough scene for us.
Yeah.
He did hit some threes last night, and I thought he's been reduced to the role of an innings eater. And maybe that's what he was last year with the Lakers, and we just didn't really see it that clearly because he was with LeBron and AD. But he did do, I thought, a decent job last night in his minutes. I mean, obviously he made some mistakes and took some risks and made some gambles, which is what Rondo does, but that didn't pay off. But I thought he gave them solid minutes, because I just don't know what else they're going to do right now without Kawhi.
Yeah, and the Suns are getting Chris Paul back tomorrow, which is great. We had thought, our first reaction when we heard, because we haven't done a pod since Chris Paul went into the health and safety protocols. You sent me a text that morning when I woke up that said Chris Paul went to the Eric Clapton concert.
Which is my first reaction.
Was what we thought at the time. I mean, Eric Clapton did announce a bunch of new U.S. tour dates, and I'm looking at the schedule right now, and it's a lot. I mean, not coincidentally, they're all in Texas, Louisiana, Tennessee, Georgia, Florida, basically all the states that have been like COVID denying like the whole time.
Yeah.
That's where Eric Clapton is touring.
The non-coastal elites.
Right, exactly. If you will.
Yeah.
But
shout out to our Midwest and Southwest and North listeners and subscribers. We love everybody. This is not a coastal elite pod.
No, we're the inclusivity boys, as we've said many times.
Except for if you like fireworks, which case,
yes.
If you like fireworks, go
next.
Fuck
I
yourself.
think next week we're gonna have to do the anti-fireworks boys part 2 episode.
Yeah, when it's
because that's the 4th of July.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
my god.
And it's 100. It's going to be 110 fucking degrees in Portland. But yeah, definitely 4th of July. Fuck fireworks.
So we thought that Chris Paul went to the Eric Clapton concert. Turns out he was at the Guetta. He just didn't post about it on Instagram like everybody else has.
Right.
And so that's why he's going to be able to come back.
And CP, being the presidential politician type of guy that he is, showing us a lesson here, a public health lesson that, yes, you can actually get the coronavirus if you have the vaccine, but you will not have.
You won't die.
You won't die. Like getting the vaccine is good. So thank you, Chris Paul, for again sacrificing yourself for the greater good of the game and the world. But I do think. The one thing about Chris Paul coming back is that the Suns clearly can play without him.
Is it going to mess with my man Cameron Payne's role?
It perhaps. And the other thing, too, that I do wonder about is that T. Lue leaned a little bit more on Zubats in the last game. And I wonder if bringing Chris Paul back and playing some smaller backcourts would allow for my guy Nick Batum to be back on as the center and allow them to go a little bit smaller because, then the collective lineup for the Suns isn't as big at every position. And maybe it's not as crucial that you match up with Ayton size-wise. I mean, obviously Ayton is a problem. You're not going to be able to
face emoji.
Yeah, he is. And he clearly was more of a problem offensively. The way he reads in the pick and roll, when to cut, when to dive, when to pop, he just has a much better, intuitive grasp of when to do those things than Rudy Gobert. And that is just also going to be a problem for the go small approach that I'm bringing to the table, which the Clippers went away from, and it almost worked. Like, I'm here nitpicking T. Lue, but they were 1 Paul George free throw away from that game going to overtime and 2 from winning the game.
I have a completely switching subject. Do you see this this Kodak Black Kobe thing?
No.
I am going to text you this tweet.
Okay.
There have been bad Kobe tributes before. As one would expect, there have been a lot of bad Kobe tributes since he passed away.
I'm waiting for it to come in. Sorry.
I just sent you this. Today, I guess, is Kobe's birthday, which I didn't even realize because there's not as much Kobe content this year as there usually is.
Oh my fucking no. No. He's one of the dumbest people on earth.
Is he on? Is he on those reality shows? Is that how you know that? Or
no. I mean, I have listened. His music has come into my world as someone who listens to rap, and I've listened to some of his songs. I just remember I went to. With my homie Matt Cox a couple of years ago, we went to the it was the future tour. It was future. It was called the Nobody Safe Tour, and Kodak Black was supposed to be one of the openers. And then like a month before they were going to go on tour, they announced that Kodak was not going to be there because he had to go back to jail. It was just like, I was like, oh, okay. That's all I needed to know about Kodak. I was like, oh, okay. Like,
well, so for those of you who have not seen this story or have not seen this post.
And also it was like, I'm pretty sure it was like, I don't know. It was like some Tekashi adjacent shit, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. But for those of you who haven't seen this, Kodak Black took a picture of himself wearing a Kobe jersey in front of some like purple and gold balloons that say "Happy Birthday, Mamba," and then he has a giant helicopter that's painted purple and gold.
I mean, there's nothing to add. That is so bad. Oh my lord. Well,
there's also I have a Clutch Points graphic also that's
what you just described is a Clutch Points graphic in real life. Like Kodak's art direction on this photo shoot was Clutch Points.
Well, but I have this actual, like, this is an incredible Clutch Points graphic. The caption is "The Price of Salvation," and the subhead is, "Would you bring back a franchise legend for your team's two best players?" And at the in the background, it has looks like Donovan Mitchell and Cat and Klay Thompson, and then in the front, in like Avengers, get ups with like the fist of Thanos or whatever. It says it has Dirk, Dwayne Wade, and Kobe.
Mm-hmm.
And I was totally on board with like the idea of like, oh, would you trade Luka for Dirk? Like that's an interesting like debate if you want to have that for certain franchises. But then when they put Kobe on this, then it becomes like, would you kill LeBron to bring back Kobe?
Yeah,
is how it becomes when you read that. So that's just like that's some incredible work there by Clutch Points.
They're always pushing the envelope to be the most probably. Yeah, please send that to me.
I'm gonna text this to you.
The thing about Clutch Points and OG listeners will know this was like Clutch Points literally got Sean and I through the early days of quarantine because like we would be socially isolated,
sitting at home depressed about like the state of the world, and we would just like every time one of the
graphics
drop, we would just text them to each other.
This is insane. With the Thanos thing, this is so ridiculous. Yeah.
I mean, it's all good until Kobe's on it, and then it becomes a totally different thing.
Yeah, it becomes a lot more problematic.
Have you seen any good ones lately? Any good Clutch Points?
You know what? I have, but I can't really remember any. I mean, like they're always putting out bangers. Like I'm trying to remember if there was some after
I'm scrolling through the phone to see the ones I have saved.
There had to have been some good ones after the Sixers lost. I feel like Clutch Points knows that Philly sports grief is like one of the greatest verticals in the history of sports that everyone, it's one of the most fruitful things that everyone in the sports world loves to pull from is the Philly angst. So I'm sure they did some great Philly angst stuff.
So do you want to talk about Ben Simmons then?
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
Future Portland Trailblazer, Ben Simmons.
That's right. We're pushing.
I mean, the agenda is formulating.
Well, I mean, I am the creator of the latest vision that I posted on the Blazer Banter account over the weekend.
Please elaborate.
Well, the trade is Ben Simmons. If Ben Simmons is here in Portland, it seems pretty clear to me that there's really not a fit with Yusuf Nurkic. And so my solution was to find a center that I thought complemented Ben Simmons. Well, obviously you have to trade CJ McCollum because you have to trade CJ McCollum. So I came up with a 4-team trade the other day.
Okay.
Because we know that the Los Angeles Lakers would like to move on from Kyle Kuzma. And B, Anthony Davis hates playing center. So getting a center to
and
play...
And C, Andre Drummond is not it.
And C, Andre Drummond is very clearly not
Apologies to my man Sopan Deb, the no-hat boy.
Yeah, this playoff run very much proved that in a pinch, if one of those guys is not right...
Andre Drummond is not a future Hall of Famer.
Exactly. He's not going to be one to stretch himself into playmaking situations or even making the right defensive reads. Like Nurkic, for all the dumb fouling he did against Jokic, that was against the MVP, and he's also a very smart defender, and I guarantee you LeBron looks at someone like Nurkic and is like, I can fix him. Like I guarantee you LeBron thinks that. Also, he's Clutch Sports. So that's so the 14 trade I came up with involves the Sixers, Blazers, Pacers, and Lakers. It would send CJ and Derrick Jones Jr. to the 76ers. It would send Kuzma and Talen Horton-Tucker to the Pacers, Justin Holiday and Nurkic to the Lakers, and then Miles Turner and Ben Simmons to the Blazers. Obviously, the Pacers would need some picks.
Yeah, I was gonna say my issue with that trade is I don't think Indy's getting enough.
I understand that. I guess who are you pulling from, and what would they want in that scenario? Because
I don't. That's the part I don't know.
Because here's the thing. Let's just talk about it. Let's just totally just Sabonis. It is very. The Pacers are in a little bit of a similar scenario to the Sixers and the Blazers in the sense that they have two guys that occupy the same spaces that have been together for a long time, and everyone's wondering what it like. And I'm talking about Sabonis and Miles Turner. Uh-huh. Like those guys have been together. They have been good. They have been solid. But it seems to be like that has also reached a breaking point, and we just don't talk about that because nobody gives a shit about the Pacers nationally anyway. And I just think that tension is definitely also there. So I just think here are four teams that are feeling tensions with their current roster, and here are solutions to potentially, because Kuzma, like as much as I am a Kuzma respecter, a lot of people like to make fun of him because he's on the Lakers and he has a shoe deal when he probably shouldn't have one.
Did you see?
He plays good defense, and he's a solid player, and I think he would help them.
Do you watch Dave, the Little Dicky show?
I want to watch that. Kelsey and I were actually talking about potentially starting to watch Dave, but I have not watched it.
Well, it's good. It's like I'm not like a Little Dicky fan, but like it's actually like the show is like actually funny. I watched the first season a while ago, but they just had the season premiere of season 2 last week. And there is a scene in it that Kyle Kuzma makes a cameo in.
Lil Dicky will say, to tie this back to this current conversation about Ben Simmons, Lil Dicky is a Philly fan.
That's actually in the thing. So basically, like
I saw Lil Dicky at a Sixers Lakers game a couple of years ago.
Well, in this scene, like so Lil Dicky is going to some party at like this club, and his friend who's his producer who like had just gone on tour with some like actually famous rapper was at this club and is like way cooler than Lil Dicky, and so he's at this and so the producer is at this table with Kyle Kuzma and like one of Kyle Kuzma's buddies. It was like a darkly lit thing. I watched it a week ago. It might have been another NBA player. I don't remember. And then so Lil Dicky just like comes up and starts acting all awkward. And then as he goes away, he's like, hey, Kyle, the Sixers are my second favorite team. And and Kyle Kuzma's like looking at him like, who's your favorite team? He's like, Philly, motherfucker. And then it's just like super, like Kyle Kuzma is just like not down. And like he just like killed the whole vibe. But like Kyle Kuzma is not getting cameos in big TV shows like that if he plays for the Indiana Pacers.
Exactly. And I think that is partially part of the problem when
unless it's Parks and Rec.
Right.
Shout out to Roy Hibbert.
Shout out to Detlef Schrempf.
Yeah.
But that's part of the point I'm making though about Kuz is that it becomes a problem evaluating him sometimes in the greater when you try to evaluate him in especially in the Twitter discourse because of things like that, because people resent him for the fact that he has an appearance on a show that he would not have if he was not on the Los Angeles Lakers. But because he's on the Los Angeles Lakers, he has a cameo role in Dave. But he's still a 6'9", 6'10", wing who has gotten much better at defense and can guard positions 2 through 4 very well. He's a very good rebounder. And I don't think he's going to be a star offensive player, but I think if you put him with the rest of the guys on the Pacers, with Sabonis, with Malcolm Brogdon, he would fit really well with that team, and I think would help them defensively. And also he's a really good cutter. I think he's a guy that could really benefit from playing with good passers like Sabonis and Brogdon. So I get why everyone's like shitting on it from the Pacers perspective, and I understand that there could be some picks involved, but I would like to defend Kuzma for a second. Like, the dude was like, what, the 4th best player or 5th best player on a championship team? Like, it's nothing to sniff at, to just like scoff at, in my opinion.
Which Holiday brother did you have going to the Lakers?
Justin.
Okay, because I was going to say, if it was Aaron Holiday, I would have been all ready for the takes that are like, people are totally sleeping on Aaron Holiday being the steal of this trade for the Lakers, because anytime the Lakers get any like halfway decent young role player, it becomes like the
who went to UCLA.
Right, who went to UCLA. But, Justin, I mean, Justin's a little bit older. I actually like Justin a lot. I covered him in Chicago. He's a really good guy. But I mean, he's a little bit older, so I don't think there would be quite as much of that. But it would still be like, I mean, he'd be an upgrade over like the Wesley Matthews minutes or whatever.
Yeah, he'd be solid 3-and-D dude. Like, exactly the type of dude that thrives next to LeBron. Like, is very low maintenance, doesn't need a whole lot of guidance. Like, he can just show up and do his job. He knows what to do. Good head on his shoulders. I think if you're the Lakers, like, I guess maybe the bigger question, do you want Nurk? But like, Nurk again, like, provides. They have employed JaVale McGee, Dwight Howard, Andre Drummond. I think they can handle Yusuf Nurkic just fine.
Do you think that Dame, and you and I have talked about this a little bit off air, do you think that Dame wants another project from a babysitting standpoint, like he already just has had with Nurk? Do you think he wants somebody else like Ben Simmons, who's like incredibly talented, but like he's going to have to convince to work on his game and all that kind of stuff? You think Dame is trying to do that at this point?
I do not think it's his. No. I don't think it's his ideal. I don't think it's his first choice. I think that there's, and here's the thing. I get that from his perspective. I get why it's not his first choice, because he doesn't want a baby. Like we also, like, Nurkic is one example. Mo Harkless is another example where, like, Dame, like, Mo's locker was right next to Dame's locker, and when Mo didn't play, Dame was there being, supportive and all this stuff. And when Dame was doing that, Dame was, earlier in his career, his 3rd or 4th season, and he wasn't, like, he has a family now. He has said before in past season, like most recent seasons, at least these past couple in media days, that he's not going to be about trying to, get everybody else, like, to do like the extra babysitting type of work. Like, he's 31. Like, I don't know if he wants to do that. If I'm the Blazers, though, like, I think ultimately, like, you try to make that work, because not only, from my opinion, not only do I think that Dame's presence would help Ben Simmons, I think eventually, when the time comes, Ben Simmons' presence is really going to help Dame, not just on the defensive end immediately, but, potentially down the line, if Dame is still with the Blazers as he ages, to have another engine in the offense. But obviously, I think there's still a lot of questions as to whether Ben Simmons is that. And and so that was, I think it's a very fair question at play here is, does Dame want to do another heavy lift in terms of the mental aspect? And I mean, maybe part of it, maybe it'll be a little bit easier because Ben Simmons is a max player. But it also could be harder, because then it would be harder to convince him that he needs to change his ways, Well,
Ben Simmons is also so much more talented than any player Dame has ever played with in his entire career.
Yeah.
I think Dame might be more like, because, like, if he, gets Mo Harkless his mind right, the upside is Mo Harkless, who's like a pretty decent role player. I mean, I guess Nurk like has like the higher upside in terms of like we saw like the impact that he can make, especially on the defensive end. But like, I think the upside is higher with making it work with Ben Simmons than it is with anybody else that Dame has maybe had to take that approach with.
True. And I think the other aspect, though, too, is like, and this is all in the hypothetical trade realm, but the more win now move where Dame doesn't have to do that and feels probably more heard is making a trade for someone like Draymond Green.
Well, Dame has been like openly trying to recruit Draymond to come to Portland on social media for like 3 years. So
oh yeah,
I think that would make Dame very, very happy.
And it would. It totally would. I think the question to ask though is like where like
do you think Golden State is like trying to do that or ready to do that?
That's I mean maybe they would if it was like a Simmons, Draymond, CJ.
Oh, like a three-way with the Warriors. I mean, our guy Ricky G,
that's right,
legend.
That's right.
Tweeted something the other day that just said, "Keep your third." I mean, I think he might have said, "Keep your third eye open."
Yeah,
but he said the Warriors are going to get Ben Simmons for cheap.
And I know that Ricky G does not like Draymond. He criticizes the fact that he's a zero on offense, but like,
I don't think he's a zero on offense.
He's clear. No, he's not. He's not a zero. He's a great passer, great screen setter. Also, he brings the ball up the floor. He can initiate offense. Draymond is, and Draymond. Another aspect to the Draymond dialogue, or to the Draymond versus Ben Simmons here, is Dre is going to be on Team USA with Dame. So those guys are going to actually get to play together, and that might change things. And obviously, free agency is going to be soon, but I think there's going to be a lot of potential flux in these rosters.
These deals that happen maybe in like middle of August or after all the like. Well, but you also, you know what though, like this is going to be not the same because normally the Olympics happens in like mid to late July after free agency is already done. Free agency starts in August. Free agency starts basically when the Olympics are over.
Which is why the Olympics is almost even more interesting than ever because like the tampering will have a more immediate effect on this coming season because of that.
Where are we on the coaching search? We still think it's Chauncey.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it doesn't seem like anything has really changed on that front.
There's been some smoke about Jody wanting Becky Hammon, but
which I think was some smoke. I don't think that wasn't a consideration. I definitely think that Jody Allen wanted to consider that, but I also think that there's a lot more there because if it was all Jody's call, then she could just fire Neil O'Shea tomorrow. But obviously, that's not the only thing at play here. So obviously, Mike D'Antoni keeps getting mentioned, but it really does feel like it's a Chauncey or bust thing.
And you and I both have heard interesting things about David Fizdale being in the mix, maybe for a spot on the staff too.
Yeah, I mean, it just makes sense. I mean, it ties back to something we've said before that if you hire a first-time head coach like Chauncey Billups, you need to have a very experienced staff in the same way that the Nets had a very experienced staff around Steve Nash. So David Fizdale as a assistant coach, being that he is a former head coach, makes a ton of sense. And also they were on ESPN together. So
CAA boys. Do we know what the job status is of all of the Blazers' current assistants? Like, which of them are they just letting all of them go? I don't think any of that's ever been.
It hasn't been released or anything that all of them. I mean, it was just assumed and
yeah, but sometimes like teams will keep an assistant from the old staff on, like that guy Fred Vinson, who's like in the mix for the Pelicans job, he was an assistant under Monty, he was an assistant under Alvin Gentry. He's been in that organization as an assistant coach for like 10 years. So sometimes guys like that stick around. Like I know a couple of, when I was on the Bulls beat, a couple of like guys from from the different, from the previous staff, like a couple of like Tibbs's guys that were put there by the front office ended up sticking around. So I wonder if like Jonathan Yim is gonna. I mean, I hope Yim sticks around. I like that dude a lot. But like, I wonder if like Nate Tibbetts is gonna like still be in the mix on this. If he doesn't get one of these coaching interviews, like I wonder if he's still gonna be in the mix in Portland or if he's gonna go somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean,
Gennaro Pargo or something.
Yeah, those are all interesting. Those are all very real logistical issues for teams that have head coaching searches, and I think a lot of times maybe even more in these smaller markets like Portland, where you have guys that are entrenched with the team and have been here for a long time. And one situation that comes to mind too, a couple of years ago, was when Terry Stotts kept Caleb Canales on the staff after Canales was one of the assistant.
They were the two finalists.
It was those two guys that were down for, and then after it didn't work out, Terry offered Caleb a job. I also think part of the fact that there was that it was so late in the summer when they hired Terry Stotts that all the assistant jobs were were spoken for. So Terry also needed it to fill his staff on from that perspective as well. But I definitely think, Fizz is a guy. I mean, I know that Richard Hamilton has also been interviewed by TMZ and like very much and talked about talking with Chauncey Billups about being a coach.
I don't know how real of a thing that is. Is Rip Hamilton like in the coaching game?
No, but he also might want a job back on the circuit so he could be on the circuit again. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
isn't he doing? He's like doing TV for. He's like with CBS now, I think.
He was randomly in like a Jordan commercial because he's still a Team Jordan athlete. Because that's for life. But I saw he was in I saw him on Instagram the other day. I was like,
nice. By the way, shout out to Ime Udoka getting the Celtics job.
Portland legend.
That's a good we talk about all the time when we talk about these coaching hires and like the process. We talk about like whenever one of these black first time assistants finally gets a job, it's always a shitty job. Like it's always like JB Bickerstaff getting the Cavs job when they're in a rebuild, or Steven Silas getting the Rockets job when James Harden is about to ask his way out. The Celtics job is a good job. It's a really good job. That's probably the best. Unless the Bucks fire Budenholzer, that's probably the best job out there this summer.
100%. You have two superstar wings, or not two. We have one superstar wing, one all-star caliber wing.
I like them bringing back Al Horford too. Honestly,
I like it too. I like that move. Like, I mean, honestly, I had felt as much as I like him and for the vibes. I mean, he's a great vibes guy, but Kemba's knee and hip are just not. They're not right. They're just not. They're not what you need to play point guard at a high level in the postseason. And he got against the Heat. He got picked on. I mean, everyone talks about Tyler Hero going off. Like part of that was Kemba was just not healthy. Like his leg was just not okay. And it's just like when you're a big man and you have a bad wheel, you can make up for it a little bit because you're 7 feet tall. But when you're 6 feet tall or under 6 feet like Kemba is, it becomes that much harder to make an impact on defense. And like, it sucks. But getting Horford back is great. I mean, they turn a negative into a positive big time. And, the Thunder obviously get a pick out of it and they keep stacking those assets for, some trade down the line. But I do like Horford as the backup is going to be great for them.
That's so good for Ime Udoka. Did you see Jay Williams say he got hacked after he
after he said that Ime was the first black head coach in Celtics history, which is just flatly just a basic
Bill Russell, Casey Jones, Doc Rivers, like less than 10 years ago.
Yeah. It was just
my favorite part of the I was hacked thing is I just want to know what hacker is out there being like, you know what I'm going to do? I have the ability to hack any famous person's social media account. I am going to hack NBA analyst and former NBA role player Jay Williams, and I'm going to congratulate Ime Udoka on getting a job, but say an inaccurate statement about it. That's going to be what I do. That's my move.
Yeah.
I'm going to hack some famous person's Twitter account.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give Jay Williams his basketball flowers. He was amazing at Duke.
He was a bucket steam face emoji before the motorcycle accident.
Yeah, he was amazing at Duke. He was amazing, but this was just terrible. I mean, what?
But like the thing is, that,
and
like,
the excuse, just take the L, dog. Like,
right?
You're not gonna lose your job.
Literally, nobody's gonna remember it in like 2 days. Now people are gonna remember you saying you got hacked.
Well, and it's like Kevin Durant runs an entire section of ESPN at this point. He's not gonna fucking fire you. He's your boy. Like, that's not gonna happen. Are you kidding me? Like it's just such a like and it's like it was honestly hilarious though. Like that Jay Will said that Ime was the first black head coach in Celtics history, but. This is a great hire. Everything that, about the reporting around this was that Ime made a really strong connection with the Celtics in China during the 2019 FIBA World Cup because he was an assistant for Greg Popovich when the Celtics, basically the entire Celtics core was the entire team for Team USA that year. It was Jalen, Tatum, Smart, and Kemba, and they finished at 7th. I believe it was. So, but it ended up getting Ime the job and good. I mean, yeah, it was the best job on the market, I think.
Good for him. Yeah. Is there any other real, I mean, it still seems like Terry's probably the front runner for the Pacers job.
Yeah. I mean,
there's not really, I haven't heard much chatter about New Orleans. I haven't heard much about Orlando.
Yeah, we haven't heard where Stan is going for television.
Yeah, hopefully one of the networks brings him back.
Free Alex Caruso.
Oh yeah, free Alex Caruso. Absolutely.
We didn't talk about the lottery.
Yeah, you know what?
14 teams that we don't ever talk about.
You know what? It's pretty tight that Detroit won them because that's a great fan base. That's like a historic franchise. They haven't been relevant basically since that. They had that 1 year where Blake Griffin was an all-star, but even then they were an 8 seed and they got demolished by the Bucks. They basically haven't been relevant since the end of the Chauncey, Rip Hamilton, Ben Wallace, Rasheed era.
Yeah.
Which is 15 years at this point. And so them having Cade Cunningham, I'm happy for those fans. That's cool. I'm happy about that.
Yeah, great fan base, great organization. I mean, Troy Weaver, I feel like, is doing a great job there, given the limitations of being in Detroit.
Not a bad city either, honestly. People shit on Detroit, but I've enjoyed myself whenever I've been to Detroit.
Yeah, I've never been, but obviously it's not a glamour market. It's not Chicago. It's not
Well, when I was on the Bulls beat, that was one of the cities I would go cover road games at because it was so close. But is it the most glamorous place to live? No, but can you enjoy yourself there? Yes.
Yeah. Well, and obviously, like you said, though, when we're talking about the NBA, Detroit is a great basketball city, great basketball tradition. They're the only good team in the history of Detroit. The Lions suck. The Tigers they went to the World Series a couple times, but mostly the Tigers have sucked. The Pistons have been kind of in Detroit sports, the beacon of excellence, and them being able to get Cade is pretty tight. And Cade is, a very fun player to watch. I do wonder though, if them getting Cade opens up the dialogue for Jeremy Grant, because as much as we threw out the Draymond trade, I threw out the Simmons trade. Jeremy Grant's another guy that I would look at as a 4-3 type guy to pair with Damian Lillard, because I kind of enjoyed watching the Jeremy Grant experiment in Detroit. At the last 2 minutes of every Pistons game was the Jeremy Grant show, and it mostly.
But he's also
failed.
proven that he can be an impactful player on actually good teams, because he was really good in Denver too.
Yes, exactly. But I do like. For his, if he's going to be, if Portland is going to trade CJ for Jeremy Grant, let's say,
I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that's something Neil would do. I think if Neil is going to trade, I don't think Jeremy Grant is enough of a name. I think Neil would have to win the press conference if he's going to trade CJ, and I think Ben Simmons and Draymond Green are the two guys that would do that.
Yeah, see, Jeremy Grant, the way I'm coming at it for him is that he plays the right position. He shoots the three. He also, I think, the fact that he got to kind of spread his wings, and yes, the Pistons mostly lost when he was running things at the last 2 minutes of the game, but that I like that like profile more and that pedigree a little bit more as someone that can step into a situation when the other team decides to double team Dame. And they're just like, you know what? Or triple team him and be like, you know what? Forget it. Damian is not going to score. Someone's got to do something. Like, I like the fact that all year last year, that's literally all Jeremy Grant did was figure it out. And like, in terms of player development, as someone that I would like next to Dame that fits positionally, can hit shots, I like him. If it's just a straight up trade, I like him more as like just a singular guy. Because if you get Jeremy Grant, you don't have to get rid of Nurk. If you get rid of Draymond, it's going to be tough to play him and Nurk together.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that's an interesting option. By the way, just keeping your third eye open. Jeremy Grant, Team USA.
That's right. And Jeremy Grant, born where?
I actually don't know the answer to this question.
Portland, Oregon.
Is that true?
Yeah, his dad is Harvey Grant.
Yes.
And was playing for the Blazers when Jeremy was born. He didn't grow up here, but he was born here.
I mean, they do love a guy whose dad played for they do love the Gary Trent Jr. Storyline.
Yes, they do love that, and it's like that's. I mean, and you know Neil, he's a hack writer. He loves that stuff. Like that's a real easy narrative. It's like we got this Portland born.
They're gonna call him Portland grown, even though he didn't grow up here.
Oh, totally. You can see it. Jace. But yeah, no. Jeremy Grant is an option that I would consider. I mean,
I almost feel like you don't even have to trade CJ if he's. I feel like you can get him for less than CJ. I don't know what, but I don't think
I mean, if you could do it for,
Rocco.
The ultimate dream would be like Rocco, Derek Jones Jr., and Simons. Like if you could do that, or like Rocco, Derek Jones Jr., and this, like you would deplete.
And
all
then
your
you
wings
have
at
the
that
CJ,
point.
and then you have the CJ card to play for Ben Simmons or Draymond or something.
Yeah, or Nurk. I mean, I know I just said you don't have to give up Nurk in a Jeremy Grant trade, but maybe Nurk is someone that the Pistons would want. I mean, I don't think they have they have Mason Plumlee, I think, is their only center.
They were traded for each other. What if they now reunited? We're just starting dialogues. That's all we do on Bulls vs. Blazers. Dialogue.
I think if anything, the fact that CJ has been so publicly connected to Ben Simmons has upped his trade value. Like for as much as everyone talks about Simmons' value coming down, I think the constant linking between Simmons and CJ
every single one of these podcasts I listen
CJ.
to, every single one of these like the ESPN one, like the Windhorse Hoop Collective, and the Low Post, and like every single one of these podcasts that have like connected NBA insiders on them, all of them talk about all the different possible Ben Simmons trade, and all of them kind of come to the same conclusion of the one that makes sense is to Portland for CJ.
That does nothing but help CJ's because everyone is looking at Ben Simmons still, like, as much as everyone was ready has been shitting on him, and Sixers fans are like, has he gotten better? And all the burying has been.
It has just gotten so bad there with Ben Dietrich is saying trade Simmons now.
Yeah.
Which is just like.
And every podcast is like, Yeah, I talked to some executives the other day that, for the longest time, they're like, just give me Ben Simmons. We'll be great. I'll figure it out. It'll be great. And then they're like, yeah, those same executives are saying, I don't know anymore. But at the same time,
do you think Neil is also having those second thoughts, though?
I mean,
do you think Neil would probably use that as an excuse to not trade CJ? Because he doesn't want to trade CJ.
Right, because that's his meal ticket. It's one of his excuses. Like, the longer he doesn't have to trade CJ, the longer he can stay at his job without any questions about what's next. And he, because everyone will know what the next step is if he hasn't traded CJ yet. But if he trades CJ, then there's no clear next step for Neil to stay. Because if it fails, then he's gone. And so that's probably why he's would prefer to not trade CJ. But I do think that in a weird way, this Ben Simmons lowering his trade value has somehow increased CJ's.
Yeah, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about it that way, but I think there might be something to that.
Just when you hear them in the same sentence all the time, you consider them to be in the same group. When you actually look at them on paper, they're not the same.
I don't think Daryl Morey gives a shit about what podcasts say is somebody's trade value. He's going to make whatever decision he makes based on his own process.
Well, and that's why you saw Doc walk it back after saying he wasn't sure that Ben could be
that press conference was wild. You know, he got a call from Daryl like, "Hey, man, I'm trying to make this happen, but you're not helping."
Yeah, well, and then Daryl the next day goes, it's like we have such a great culture that has been developed by Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris, Ben Simmons, Doc Rivers, just includes him as part of the core, for narrative sake. Control. Yeah, it's just so clear. I mean, and yeah, I mean, Morey is fucking smart, and it's that's the other aspect of a negotiation of it ending in being CJ for Ben Simmons is if you had to tell me which guy is going to end up on top of that negotiation, Neil is plus 300 underdog.
Eric's gambling corner is not taking Neil Holsch. By the way, shout out to Neil for getting one first place vote for Executive of the Year.
Shout out to him. Shout out to Neil voting for himself. Or
can you vote for yourself for that? I don't know.
I don't even know what move. Was
it Denver for building a team that they couldn't beat them, even though they were missing 4 of their best players? Was it Tim Connolly that did that,
or was it Masai for helping the Raptors tank into the top 4 by trading them Gary Trent for Norm Powell, so that they lost Norm, who was probably statistically their most productive player for most of the entire season?
By the way, have you ever watched the show The Cube that Dwayne Wade is hosting?
Yeah, I have. I've watched it.
I haven't. Because I still have TNT on after the game and after Inside, and The Cube.
As one who watches the NBA during the playoffs does, you just leave TNT on, and whatever the show is, you watch it. I'm watching this without the sound on, and it is one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. Right now, Dwayne Wade is standing in this cube. There's a cylinder in the cube. There's this couple that's playing the contest, and it seems like they're gonna have to one of the gimmicks of it is so you have a task.
Oh, now there's a video of somebody talking on the video screen in the cube.
Okay, I can explain what it is. Kind of, it's they have these random games where it's you put a ball, you have to put as many of these rubber balls in a hole in a box in a certain amount of time.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. It's basically Pop-A-Shot, but high tech.
Yeah, and it's and different gimmicks in it to adjust the game. And it's and one of the, but you can get a lifeline, and I guess one of the lifelines is you get Dwayne Wade, NBA Hall of Famer, to do this dexterity task for you. And
he's going to tank it because he's the host, and he doesn't want. They don't want you to win.
Right, but apparently he does a great job of playing it up that he wants them to win. But
that doesn't. I mean, he's a good actor, and personality. They're doing this in slow motion with like the Matrix like spin around, freeze.
That's the whole show. There's no music. That's the one of the things about the show that we realized. There's no music, and the entire show is the Matrix camera gimmick. Like that's the like like it's like someone's doing the task, and then it's like Matrix, and there's like no like there's just a lot of dead air on that show, and I was just like, so they spent their entire budget on the Matrix camera.
Which, by the way, the Matrix came out like 20 years ago or whatever. Like there's not evolved technology for this kind of stuff since then.
Yeah, it's Matrix, and you know what else it is for the old heads out there. That old heads, I mean, like 30-something people who are our age.
Do they also have Rob Zombie and POD on the soundtrack like the Matrix did?
No, I was gonna give a shout out to Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. And
another classic movie
with that same camera work, and the Power Rangers motion picture, which also has that exact camera work that was later copied by Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. So you heard it.
Did you see the Simpsons episode where Bart and Milhouse and Ralph Wiggum were in the boy band, with then like the NSYNC episode where they like joined the Navy?
Oh yeah, Eva Netanyahu. Yes.
Yeah. But there's a part where and this episode probably came out in like 99 or 2000, so it makes sense. But like NSYNC is like teaching them the like dance moves for their new song that's gonna expose the plot to make everybody join the Navy with the party posse or whatever.
Yeah.
And one of the things that like in the NSYNC like dance routine, they're like, and close with the Matrix, and they all jump up and like the camera spins around and one of them falls down.
And close, yeah. So instead of closing with the Matrix, they were just like, let's make an entire show out of a game show featuring Dwayne Wade with the Matrix camera effect as the main, attraction factor of the show. So it is, I don't know. I gave it a chance. I'll probably watch it again one of these days when I'm tired and not really paying attention to the TV.
And partaking in activities that are legal here, but not where Alex Caruso was.
Correct. Yeah.
Shout out to his family.
Yeah, shout out to his family. Shout out to LeBron for wire transferring him whatever the bail money was, because he tweeted it like someone, I think it was Josiah, tweeted something about when LeBron sees that Caruso's in jail for weed, and then like LeBron retweeted it with the Randy Moss gif, straight cash, homie.
You want to talk about ClutchPoints graphics? I'm going to send you the ClutchPoints graphic about this exact scenario of LeBron bailing Alex Caruso out of jail. They made a graphic out of it. I'm going to text it to you right now.
Okay. I'm waiting for it.
I just sent it through.
Oh my God. Yeah. With Stephen A. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Also, just like another reminder that weed should be federally legal, and people that are in jail,
and in the end,
people that are in jail for weed should be released, and most of those people are
have
black.
Their records wiped.
Yeah, and most of those people are black, even though people, no matter what race they are, use weed at the same rate. So it's
defund the police.
It's the Caruso thing. It's just nobody in 2021 should be getting arrested for weed in this country. It's just insane.
Yeah, but I mean, shout out to his family.
For sure.
Do we have anything else we need to hit?
We did the lottery. We did the conference finals. We did the Blazers coaching search. I think the Blazers coaching search, because Dame is there, is like is like a domino, and like once that goes, the rest of them will go, because unless the Bucks thing happens, in which case
it seems like Rick Carlisle would probably just like get that job right away if that happens.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, because it just seems like the Chauncey, it's going to be Chauncey or D'Antoni, or there was the Becky Hammond buzz as well.
Oh, by the way, actually, you know what? One more thing. So right after the Kemba Al Horford trade, I have this one. I just have one line I have to read to you from the Jared Weiss story at The Athletic. I don't know if you saw this.
Oh, I heard about it.
According to several team sources, the Celtics' culture of competition is eroding. with more than one source pointing to the players' perceived indifference toward Kyrie Irving stomping on the Celtics logo after the final home game of the season as a red flag that they did not exhibit the same sense of pride in the organization that has been the Celtics' calling card in years past. That's all I wanted to read to you from it.
I mean, that's hilarious. Because that was in the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
Their season was over. Why would they give a shit? Like, and they probably knew that their coach was going to quit, move into the front office, and that everyone was done. Like, I don't like
the next line of the story, by the way. According to a source, Brooklyn's Blake Griffin asked a Celtics player if he should join the team mid-season and was told not to come to Boston because of their apparent dysfunction.
Okay.
You hate to see it.
I'm not going to lie. I mean,
you kind of hate to see it?
Yeah, you do hate to see it. You do hate to see it. I mean, yeah, that is really quite something. I mean, the Celtics made the right call. Today they are winners, absolutely. As we record this here on June 23rd, they are absolutely winners of the day. Ime is a great coaching hire, very experienced. I think he's going to do great. Obviously, he has a great connection with the players there. I am interested to see how New Orleans plays out because that does seem like and Dallas too. I mean, Jamal Mosley seems like the guy that is the favorite. Luka already endorsed him. But I think Tristan Thompson also already endorsed him because Tristan Thompson's trying to find a job.
If you're one of these coaches and you're looking at these jobs, I know you get to coach Luka. Are you trying to have
doesn't sound very fun either one though?
Are you trying to have Haralabob dictate your rotations?
You have Haralabob dictating your rotations. You have Mark Cuban talking to the media, and then you have Luka on your ass every day in practice. That job sounds like a nightmare. Like as fun as it is, like Luka has a very clear point of view, and he's gonna let you know like what he's thinking, and like it's something you deal with when you have to be a basketball coach because you have to deal with big personalities because that's usually who are the people who are great basketball players. But like, I definitely think that job is going to be it's more than just coaching basketball. You're going to be managing a lot of different egos between Mark Cuban, Luka, and Haralabob. And then, of course, there's
and Porzingis.
Oh yeah, and Porzingis as well,
who still thinks he's a star, even though he like can never stay healthy anymore and like can't move anymore.
Yeah, I mean it's wild. And then you have then in New Orleans you have a situation where Zion is not as demonstrative and like diva, doesn't have that diva reputation that Luka has, but
you're already getting this chatter that like Zion's family members all want him to ask out. And
one, the scenes were there when it was very clear that he wanted to go to New York and ended up going to New Orleans. Like that was a very fundamental thing that you could see from the very moment that the Pelicans won that lottery is you could see on his face when he heard New and then heard Orleans, the disappointment after he heard that. Like, I do think that there was like a little bit of like, it was never really the place that he wanted to go. And now he's going to be on his third coach in 3 seasons. And their roster, like, what are they going to do to get better? Like, because they did the Eric Bledsoe thing. They have him. But who wants Eric Bledsoe now?
This is just a very tough scene for our man, David Griffin, or as some call him, David Grifton.
Yeah. It is. I mean, I know that they pay better than NBA TV, so he's doing better in that respect. But this is tough. And also, like, the way he came out and, like, also, like, kind of just dismissed Teresa Witherspoon being the head coach, too. Like, whether it was right or not, like, it was just it wasn't the best look.
Not a great look.
And so... yeah, it's a weird time in New Orleans, and I think too, and now I guess that there's like even some ownership scuttle with them as well, and I think
What is this? I didn't hear about this.
Well, the people are like looking. I forget which reporter mentioned this, but I think this is an epi threat that the New Orleans owners were potentially looking at relocation. Again, we're the expansion boys here. I just think that is more of just like a talking point that I don't think is
Are
very
they
real.
trying to get a new stadium, or
That might be the case. Them trying to get a new stadium, but I can't see them moving markets because it seems pretty clear that the NBA is going to have two more teams, one in Seattle, and I think that maybe
Vegas is the other one.
Well, I mean, I think the question with Vegas though that I've heard is you got to have a brand there. I think is really the question, because if you're going to you got to think about Vegas like. Everyone goes to Vegas to go to shows, right? Like
right.
Celine Dion. And like the Oakland Raiders or the Vegas Raiders, they are a tried and true brand name.
By the way, speaking of the Raiders, shout out to Carl Nassib. Shout out to his family.
That's right. Shout out to Carl Nassib. Very cool. Very cool moment. But what I'm saying is that like, if you just have a random expansion team in a place like Vegas where your entire crowd is going to be tourists, it's not going to be
right.
like the corporate boxes and stuff like that you would get in a lot of other cities.
The hockey team has done well there, though.
But hockey's different. Like, I feel like you need stars and you need brand and you need I do think that maybe, I don't know if it's going to be the Pelicans, but if they're going to have a team in Vegas, they got to get creative with it, because it can't just be like expansion team in Vegas. Because I know the W team is there and that's done well. But, you know, like these teams want more like Seattle is a given, like with all the corporations there and the boxes and all that stuff. Like that's easy money. But those things I think are harder to sell in a place like Vegas where your audience and the people going to the games are just going to be more transitional.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting point, but I think the league also sees, like, they already have a presence in Vegas with Summer League, and there's already an arena there. I think the league is pretty set on Vegas.
Yeah, that very well may be the case, and it makes a lot of sense with the gambling and everything that we've talked, you know, that has been talked about before with the NBA trying to get more into gambling. So, I mean, that's definitely a factor there too. I just thought, there have also been talks about Louisville. There have been talks about Vancouver, BC again. Like
that would be my first choice for the other team besides Seattle.
Vancouver, BC again.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, there's tons of money there. There's tons of tech companies there. There's tons
They had bad ownership the last time. That's why it didn't work out, not because there wasn't interest.
There's tons of international money there. I know that the company that does NBA Top Shot is based out of Vancouver, BC. So,
by the way, we haven't done a Top Shot corner in a while. Are you just completely off that now?
I haven't even checked the last time they had a drop. Like, I don't even give a shit.
I still get emails about it, but I just I cashed out a while ago.
Yeah, I mean, I cashed out most of my stuff. I have I still have a bunch of moments in my collection that I have not.
They're all
sold.
Probably worth $1.
Yeah, they're all probably not worth anything now, because I think the crypto in general has just gone down. But,
did you see that some altcoin that Mark Cuban blogged about went down by 1,000,000%?
Oh yeah, I did hear about that.
The same week that Rick Carlisle and Donnie Nelson both left.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine that lost some money on that.
I always hate to see it whenever anybody loses a lot of money on that stuff, because I think it's all a scam.
It is all a scam. But anyway, I'm glad to have taken my money out on that stuff. But yeah, back to the point though. New Orleans is not going to move; they're going to stay there. If anything, it'll be expansion. It'll be Seattle, definitely. Maybe Vancouver, BC. Maybe a place like Louisville. That Kentucky, obviously. Don't sleep on that either, because with the NCAA, being down as bad as they are, what happens if Kentucky and Louisville just are not the same anymore as college programs? That's a very passionate region for basketball that would not have a team. And they've had ABA teams in the past, and obviously, you have. So I would not sleep on a place like Louisville as well, to potentially be a team in addition to Seattle.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I could see it. I mean, they've talked about it before. I would still guess it's going to be Vegas.
Yeah, I mean that's the most money, and I think, and then Vancouver is the second most money, I think, of the two, and then you look at Louisville. But yeah, I guess I just don't. Yeah, but expansion is definitely happening. Like I don't know what y'all have heard out there, but just if anyone's talking about moving a franchise and you're reading about that, don't pay any attention to it. It's just not a real thing. So,
just keep your third eyes open about expansion.
Yeah, just letting you know that. Don't let any people scare you into thinking your favorite team's going to move. They're probably not going to move.
All right, I think on that note, we should probably wrap it up.
Yeah.
We'll be back soon with a Patreon episode. You can, as always, sign up for the Patreon at patreon.com/BullsVBlazers. $3 a month to join the family, $150,000 to get an NFT of any episode you want. Other than that, take it easy. Thanks for listening. Shout out to the family.